This is Brad A. Milford with the Unlimited Business Wisdom Podcast, where business owners, they share their wisdom. It's short and to the point, to respect people's time, and because we know transforming possibility happens really fast, and it leads to lasting results. So let's get to it. Enough of that. If you've been listening or watching, you know all that already. So let's get to our special guest, my dear friend, Stephen A. Harms. In a few sentences, tell me who you are and what you do.
Hey, Brad, thank you for having me today. What I do is I endeavor to make people's lives better. And how do I do that? I teach them how to use the most important thing that they have in their life. They are just completely unaware of it. It's their breath. The way that we breathe affects everything. But I also help people with other things that they think is the most important thing in their life, which is their voice, how we communicate, how we present ourselves, how we speak. Whether we realize it or not, we are constantly judging ourselves on our voices. We are constantly judging everybody else's voices as well. And the truth of the matter is we should be doing neither. We should be learning the most effective ways to use our voices and our breath for the purpose of presenting ourselves to the world so that we can have the greatest impact and influence. And that's what I do. I teach people how to think that way, be intentional that way, live that way, and breathe that way.
Love it. Such a noble and powerful mission, truly. And with podcasters like myself and people that use their voice for their living, is such a powerful thing. So that really resonates with me. And I know with the audience as well, whether you're a speaker, whether you're a coach, whatever it is that you do in business, we all use our voices, don't we?
We do.
That's great.
Truly do.
I love it. Zipping through the questions. So that's great. Question number 2, Stephen A. Harms. What's the best thing about being in business?
You're an entrepreneur. See, not being in business. I don't know if there's a great thing about being in business, but there's a great thing about being an entrepreneur. Because if you're an entrepreneur, then that means you are putting yourself out there because you believe that you have to take command of your own destiny, be the author of your life instead of the editor of your life. But also, if you're an entrepreneur, it gives you the most ability to impact and influence the world. The truth of the matter is, you free up your own time, you free up your own efforts, you free up your own energy, you free up your own finances, all of your resources that give you the ability that if you are the kind of person, and in our program, we teach this, whether we know a person for a minute, 5 minutes, an hour, a day, a week, a month, a year, 5 years, or their entire life, we want your life to be better. We want you to become a more effective human being because we are in your life. And so if you have a concept, an idea, a product, a service, or a business that's not good for you, your family, your community, your city, your county, the state, the country, or the world, then in my opinion, you have no business being in business. So, but if we're thinking clearly about this, then when we do our businesses as entrepreneurs, we should be thinking, hey, am I giving to the world? Am I contributing to the world? Am I helping the human race? Am I contributing to planet Earth? Or am I using the communities at large? Am I using humanity just so that I can make money and just so that I can have the things that I want in life? As entrepreneurs, I believe it is our responsibility to think clearly about whether or not our product, service, ideas, concepts fulfill the destinies that I believe we all have, which is to effectively help other human beings and do as much good as we can for planet Earth. That's what I like about being in business and especially being an entrepreneur. It gives me more of that ability.
I love that answer. Very thoughtful answer, very deep answer, very clear and succinct. So a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of business people say, freedom, or they'll say, it gives me the ability to do whatever I want, whenever I want. But the way you delivered that so eloquently really stands apart amongst the many, not that they're wrong, there's no wrong and right, but amongst the many answers that I've had. Everybody's a little different. And I love what you were delivering there. It's really for the betterment of the world. And I absolutely love that. Love that answer and love that about you. It's fantastic, Stephen. Thank you.
You're quite welcome.
Question number 3. Oh, question number 3. This is a fun question. I know you're going to love this question. It's one of my favorites. We hear from other business owners, they're getting so much business. Yes, now they're getting so much business that sometimes the chaos causes some overwhelm. Would you be willing to share your thoughts on that topic, Stephen?
Sure, absolutely. Once again, in our organization, we teach certain things. One of the things that we teach is that the goal should be to do good. That's the goal. And we encourage people. Nobody needs to put their health above doing good. That's the number one rule of our organization. While you're doing good, you don't need to sacrifice your health to do good. As a strict matter of fact, if you do so, then you inhibit your ability to do good, because if you are not healthy and you don't take another breath, then you're not going to be around to do good. It's actually the body's job. Its number one goal, if maybe even its only goal, is really just to keep you alive. And the way that the body does that is by making sure that you take another breath. Good example of this is you yawn. Try to suppress a yawn next time it comes in. When the body wants to yawn, it's going to make you yawn because it knows that you need to take a deep breath. That is why we yawn. So when we're thinking clearly about this, we understand that if our goal is to do good, and we're not supposed to sacrifice our health to do good, we also should not be stressed while we are doing good. That also does not make any kind of sense. So that's the second rule.
It's 12:30.
By the way, my alarm goes off every 15 minutes to remind me of where I am in my day, but we can talk about that later.
At least I know what time it is now.
That's right.
So for anybody listening, everybody watching, little humor here. If you don't know what time it is, now you know. Thanks, Stephen. So as you were saying?
As I was saying, so we do good. We do not sacrifice our health to do good. We do not stress while we are doing good. And we do good now. We make sure that the priority is that we do it now. And if you're not going to be stressed while you're doing now, the opposite of stressed is desserts. That's the opposite of stress. Well, if you spell stressed backwards, it spells desserts. So you want your life to be sweet and filled with things that you like that keep you from getting stressed. And then while you're doing good, if you're happy while you're doing so, then you're more likely to do more good. And that's essentially what it comes down to when I think of, when I think of business. And it's not about whether I'm getting a lot of business or a little bit of business. It doesn't matter. Every day I get to wake up and I get to make people's lives better. It just so happens that my business is actually the same thing. So whether or not I'm doing it for one person or two people or a group or a huge amount of people all over the world, it doesn't matter. I still get to do that good on a daily basis. And so that's amazing. So I don't really get overwhelmed. That's not something I would ever want to have in my life. And if I get overwhelmed, then I'm a horrible example of what I teach, which is to teach people to breathe in such a way, talk in such a way, laugh in such a way, sing in such a way, and smile in such a way that you don't get overwhelmed. And if you forget and you become overwhelmed, you need to remember that that is not effective. It's not effective for you, your family, your life, your business, your community. It's not effective for anybody. So don't get overwhelmed.
I love it. It's good, solid, sound advice. And for anybody listening or watching and thinking, that's pretty simple. So, well, if you've heard me for a long time, I say simple is brilliant. So I love simple, delivered things like that are actually really powerful. And what you said there is really powerful. So I would encourage anybody listening or watching, if you're discounting that in any way, I'd encourage you to re-listen to it, like just scroll back or whatever it is and re-listen to it, because what you're sharing there, Stephen, is actually really powerful and really valuable in terms of, doing good in the world. And that is the sense. And so if you're feeling overwhelmed is probably not logically what's actually happening. You just happen to be feeling that, and to get really zeroed in and grounded in why we all do this, doing good in the world. So I absolutely love your answer, and I celebrate you for sharing it. We're going to shift to question number 4. This is fun. What other successful business owners like yourself, Mr. Global Vocal Coach, all over the world, renowned global Grammy Award winner. Look, what other successful business owners like yourself should be on the Unlimited Wisdom podcast?
Well, truthfully, I can think of like dozens. I mean, there's lots of people out there. My good friend and brother, Freddie Ravel, who he created a platform called Life in Tune, right? Which is how he helps business owners literally use music to transform their businesses and their lives, obviously. And I think that's something that should completely go out to the world. Also, there's Dr. Michael Bruce. Dr. Michael Bruce is better known as the sleep doctor, and he's actually one of my mentors, and actually one of the reasons why I even have a business today. And he's an incredible man, an incredible human being, and just a dear brother as well. And also a good friend of mine named Mr. 𝐘𝐿. Mr. 𝐘𝐿 has he runs a men's group called METAL, which stands for Media, Entertainment, Technology, Artists, and Leaders. But in truth, behind closed doors, if you really talk to Mr. 𝐘𝐿, what you find out is really his goal is the same as mine, which is he wants to become the most effective human being so he can help other people become more effective human beings so that they can teach other people to become more effective human beings. Because let's just face it, we as the average Joes and Josephines of the world, we're the solution. We as the entrepreneurs, we're the solution. Why? I don't know. Maybe you think that the governments of the world are going to take care of us. I don't see it. Maybe you think that the religious establishments are going to take care of us. I don't see that either. Don't get me wrong. Governments can do good things. Religious organizations can do really good things. And also, 501c3 nonprofit corporations and charities, right? They're doing good things. That's fantastic. But they're not going to take care of us. It's kind of up to us. And now because of technology, for about a decade, we have something we've never had before. The word neighbor means nearby. That's what it actually means. It means actually somebody you can physically touch, impact, or influence right now. But now because of technology, for the first time in world history, Brad, who's your neighbor?
Everyone.
Only for about a decade. This has only been true for about a decade. So ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening to the sound of my voice, understand this. Even if you're unaware of it, for about a decade now, as average Joes and Josephines, as entrepreneurs of the world, we have the ability to impact and influence everybody in the world, which makes them our neighbors. Which means with the simple concept of love thy neighbor, average Joes and Josephines can use their impact and influence and inspiration and literally change the world. And every movement has always started with a voice. There are no exceptions to this. Everything started with a voice. You have a voice, and then you have a community and people that follow that voice and also lift up their voice. They lift up that voice, they add their voices, and every movement, everything of significance that's ever been accomplished anytime on planet Earth in human history started with a voice. And I have the unique privilege of connecting with people like Freddie Ravel, who is using his voice and his ability to teach music through that platform. I have the great privilege of being with Dr. Michael Bruce, who is doing the same thing by teaching people to sleep more effectively. And of course, with Mr. Ken Rakowski, who taught me, hey, Stephen, how to be a more effective human being so I can become a more effective human being to help other people become more effective human beings. And we now have that ability. And I'm, any of these people, or I could give you 100 people.
I'm with you. No, that's great. Look,
Right.
I'm with you 100%. And I'm glad you picked 3 people that I've actually had some exposure to and that I actually know and can double down on what you just said. Freddie Ravel is world renowned. Like his presentations are out of this world. They're in tune, we would say.
Right.
And Michael Bruce is a powerhouse. I mean, he's the #1 sleep doctor in the world. Fortunately, I've been on a call with him as well. And Ken, it has a phenomenal group. Not only is he a world-class speaker, like a keynote speaker all over the world,
Right.
but he has a phenomenal group in metal. That is a tremendous group. And if you've never seen it, I highly encourage you to Google Metal International and it'll pop right up and check it out if it's a good fit for you. So great recommendation, Stephen, and I appreciate you. We're going to get on to some business.
Also, Dr. Kian, I was just on his podcast just a couple days ago, and he's a wellness doctor. And I mean, the list goes on and on. There's so many. There's so many. Anyway, you can continue, brother. Go ahead.
No, I would be shocked. I know the list goes on and on, but I would be shocked if Dr. Vu is not the next best known doctor in the world. You know who I'm referring to, the other doctor. I'd be surprised if he doesn't. I mean, he's already reaching that level. He's so powerful. So love it, Stephen. Thank you. Let's shift to some business wisdom. So being in business, being a man of the world, doing what you do with voice and breath, what piece of wisdom would you share with other business owners, Stephen A. Harms?
Care about all people. Do not play favorites. Care about everyone. It doesn't matter who they are. Learn to be intentional with your thought of, hey, I want what's best for this person. Years ago, I started an organization called Doorways. And the concept of Doorways was simply this. When you go through a doorway, why? Why am I going through this doorway? Is it because I'm trying to get at the ladder of success? I'm concerned about what they're going to do for me, who's going to help me, how they're going to serve me? Or am I more concerned about how I am going to love, reach out, care for, serve, and help as many people as possible as I go through this doorway? That should be the mindset, in my opinion, of every person that has an idea, a concept, a product, a service, or a business. We need to be thinking this way. We need to be asking ourselves, does my idea, concept, service, product, or business serve people? Does it make their lives better? And if I don't believe that, then why am I in business at all? That is the greatest wisdom I can give anybody at any time. And we sum this up in my platform called Love Thy Audience. Right? Love thy neighbor, love my audience. I love my audience. I want what's best for my audience. The word audience means to hear. A-U-D-I, Audi. Everybody that hears you is your audience. Everybody that you talk to is your audience. Everyone that hears about you is your audience. Everybody that hears about you from somebody else is your audience. Everybody that hears your thoughts, ideas, concepts from somebody else is also your audience. Ladies and gentlemen, we have to love them. We have to want what's best for them. And like I said earlier, if you don't want what's best for your audience, then you have no business being in business. That is the greatest wisdom, not that I can just give business owners, but to a person. We need to be thinking this way all of the time. All of the time. And in case you didn't hear me, I said all of the time.
I love it. That's really great advice. I mean, look, if we get real here, and so anybody listening to me knows I speak real, right? I'm pretty authentic. And so if we dive into this a little bit, it's simple. I always say simple is brilliant. It's good. And who could dispute that the more love in the world, the better off we all are, right? I don't think anybody could. I don't believe anybody could probably dispute that. But for anybody who's a little more skeptical about the topic, right? And they'd be like, okay, how can we love, serve, care for? I mean, you say it better than I. Can you repeat that?
Love, reach out, care for, serve, and help as many people as possible. I
love that. That just flows right off of your tongue, and I love that. And it is noble, but for those that saying like, okay, like that I'm not sure that sounds possible. How would you respond to that? What advice would you give them? What guidance?
It's a great question, and it's a reasonable question, Brad. It's an absolutely reasonable question. It's a matter of being intentional. Look, even being intentional, you have to be intentional to be intentional. You may not really think about it that way, but that's actually accurate. If you're not intentional to do what you do next, well, then you're definitely not going to be intentional about what you think next. To really train your brain, to really be intentional about your next thoughts and then the actions that come from those thoughts. And think about it this way. Everything in the world happens in a two-step process. I actually teach a three-step process, but for simplicity's sake, we'll just call it a two-step process for now, which is this. Everything that you do because you're intentional to do it, and then the body acts upon and manifests your intention.
It's 12:45.
And there's my alarm again. I'm very intentional.
We know what time it is.
Well, you know what I do is I actually drink water every 15 minutes. So I'm actually going to just grab that really quick. And so that's actually the reason it goes off.
You practice what you teach and walk the talk. I love it.
How many times have you gone through your day? I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't feel it. Oh my gosh, I haven't drunk any water. Seriously, just consider that. Anyway, not something you necessarily have to do. Some people get annoyed at the fact that my alarm goes off every 15 minutes, but I'm never dehydrated.
I love it.
But it also reminds me to breathe. It reminds me to exercise, do some sort of activity. And it does a lot of things for me. Actually, I could go off days for about this. I actually have something called POWERS: personal, oxygen, water, exercise, refuel, and smile. And every 2 hours of superpowers, I think of, hey, am I taking care of myself and the things that I need to in my life personally? Am I breathing? Am I taking my oxygen? That's O. W, water. Am I exercising, which is some sort of movement, activity? Refuel, which is the idea of not just eating, but putting something healthy into your body to keep everything else going. And am I smiling? Seriously, people, you don't know it yet. That's really condescending for me to call you people. I apologize. What I'm actually saying is this, ladies and gentlemen, if you smile, you'll live longer, you'll be healthier, you'll be happier, you'll get sick less. There's all kinds of benefits to smiling. Look it up. Don't take my word for it. So I have trained myself to smile more throughout the day, which is basically a relaxed laugh, and it's also singing. And we haven't really talked about a lot of my singing here today, but that's okay. The truth is this: what I'm asking is a lot. I'm asking you to be intentional, to care about the person that you're with. And maybe you don't think that way. Maybe you get so wrapped up in your life. You get so wrapped up in what you're doing. You've got problems, difficulties, obstacles, stress, right? You don't know what my life is like, Stephen. Okay, I get it. I understand. But you can start over right now and go, okay, you know what? From this moment on, if I was starting my life over, could I start my life over being the way that I was a minute ago? Or would I start off choosing to breathe deeper, love longer, laugh more, smile incessantly, and idealistically and theoretically be intentional about anything and everything that I do all of the time? Because, ladies and gentlemen, you can't get your moments back. So if you are unintentional about a moment of your life, you lost it. At least if you were intentional, you could say, you know what? I did the best that I could in that moment. I did something good in that moment, and I don't regret it. And you're only going to have that if you are theoretically and idealistically intentional about what you do, what you say, and especially how you care and how much you love in the next moment. That's just
Powerful stuff. It really is powerful stuff. It sounds simple, but having done the work on some of these items, I know it's not so simple. So what you're delivering is very powerful. Intentionality, being intentional about all your actions. That almost, for somebody that's listening or watching, hasn't had much exposure to that. I can imagine somebody listening in the audience going, "What are they talking about? How is that possible?" But I've seen evidence of that through you and what how you shine and what you teach and your programs and all that kind of stuff. So I really want to edify you, highlight you, showcase you. And I know that you walk the talk, not only through your one-on-one programs, but also your group programs and just some of the stuff that you're doing throughout the world, speaking at events. And I know I've seen you on Clubhouse and at Facebook and all these different things you got going on. So I really want to highlight you. You definitely exude what you're describing here, which is it's unfortunate to say, but it's so rare in the world. So thank you for being who you are and teaching what you teach and serving people all over the world. I really love it. Stephen, we're going to shift gears. I know I talk business more than you probably talk business, but I know I can talk business forever. But I always love ending the podcast on a more joyful note. You seem to just have that about you all the time. But the last question is meant to highlight the fact that we work to live and not live to work, right? There's a reason why many of us become entrepreneurs or become business people and all these things. It's not so that we can do business all the day, right? So the question is designed for that. So I'd love to know, what's the most fun vacation you've ever had?
Well, the truth is, I don't really do vacation.
I knew you'd have an answer like this.
Well, I just don't. I mean, look, I'm a professional singer, and I've gotten to sing all over the place, and which is fine, and that's been fun, and I've enjoyed that. So I've had my fair share of traveling, which is fantastic. I know most people equate traveling to vacation, so I have the travel experiences. There was a time when I was younger when somebody needed some furniture delivered across the US, right? So they paid me to drive their furniture from California to New York and then drive the truck back. And I didn't really have a job or anything to do, so I really took my time coming back across the country. And I think I took something like 2 months to cross or something like that on the way back. And I don't know if that was really a vacation, but I was enjoying myself. I was enjoying my time. I developed a lot of the ideas, concepts, visions, and philosophies, during that part of my life and subsequent occurrences. And honestly, to me, vacation is a weird thing, because if you stay stress-free in your life and you're doing the things that you need to do and you're helping people, right? Then I don't know if I'd even call it a vacation. I'd call it, it's like, you know what? I need to just make sure that I'm taking some personal time and I'm making sure that I'm ready, because if I take that personal time, it'll give me the ability to then come back, love, reach out, care for, serve, and help more people. But you would also do that on your vacation. So if that's your goal in life, right? It's kind of like retirement. Retirement's kind of a weird thing. There's ancient texts that say the older should teach the younger, and that we should look for the gray hair, people that are like older. But instead, they're retiring, getting into their Winnebagos and moving to Florida. Instead,
Hey,
and
Florida.
but then they get upset that the younger generation isn't listening to what they have to say. Well, in my opinion, retirement kind of taught them to abandon us, right? And so I want to make sure that if we take a vacation, we're doing it because we believe that that's the best way to love, reach out, care for, serve, and help people. And if I go somewhere or I do something and I need that break, yes, I'm going to do that. But that's how I need to think about it. I need to think about it as, hey, it's kind of like getting sleep. The best way for me to love people is to get my sleep so that when I wake up, I can do the things that I need to do. And so that's kind of my thoughts about the vacation. And I honestly, I just haven't taken one in a really long time.
I love it. When you live your life like you're on vacation every day and you're doing good in the world and serving, I think you displayed it. Every day is a vacation. I love it. Stephen, this has been a great conversation. I really appreciate you. So you've displayed a lot of intentionality, and right back, I want to display some intentionality. I know you took a chunk out of your day to come here and share with the world, to do good, to do intentional things, to be able to love and serve. So I appreciate that. And I highlight you for that and celebrate you. So thank you very much. When somebody watches this, before I go there, look, I happen to know you just a little bit, and I got some cool initiatives and campaigns happening right now. So I know you did these little cliffhanger snippets of you singing and things like that with voice. But we didn't talk a whole lot about voice. Now, me knowing that you have some programs and things like that to be able to serve people, and you're so humble about your experience, having been in, I don't even know, countless, from my standpoint, countless movie scores and different things like in Hollywood and all this stuff. What do you have working right now in order to serve the people? What kind of initiatives or campaigns do you got going on? And then we'll go to your, to where people can reach out to you. Would you just be willing to share what you're doing in the world right now?
Sure. When COVID hit, I'm a professional opera singer, as you know, and I was, singing for movies and television and stuff like that, and doing the whole studio thing. And then COVID hit, and it all ended. And COVID became a great gift to me, because it made me do what I've always really wanted to do, which is really, really impact and influence people's lives. I became a professional singer because I believe the voice was the most influential thing in the world. But I thought I was going to become a rock singer. And then because I became a rock singer, people would listen to what I have to say. Because let's face it, if you're world famous and you've written a hit song, all of a sudden your ideas matter. Which is the weirdest thing in the world. Oh, you're a professional actor? You should be president. This is a fantastic idea, right? So these are really, and don't get me wrong, we've had some good actor presidents, and it doesn't matter. The point is this, is the voice itself, though, and how we build it up, as we build it up, is the most influential thing in the world. It just is. And so now I get the opportunity to do that. I have a coaching program that I call the Voice of Intention Experience. It spells out the word voix, V-O-I-X in French. And in that program, we teach people how to learn that they can actually take ownership of their voice and their breath and their life by being intentional. You can be intentional about how you take your next breath. You don't have to just know that there's another breath coming. You can be intentional about what that breath looks like, what it feels like, and what it does for your voice and your ability to serve the world. That's what that actually is. So I have a class that's going to start on March 15th, which is the Ides of March. And if you want to look up the Ides of March, you can. It's super fun to start on that date because, well, it's a rebirth. It's a starting, right? It was the turning point in Roman history, and that could be the turning point in your life. March 15th, and we're going to start another coaching program then called the Voice of Intention Experience, and I make the guarantee, Brad. It's an absolute guarantee. Not that the class will change your voice. It will literally transform your life, or it's free. That's what it's all about. And I know that it will. And I know that it does. And our community is growing. It's building. And we're adding more and more people to our community every day. And I'm super thrilled about that because that means I get to help more people. I get to love more people. I get to serve more people. And
love it.
So that's what I'm currently working.
It's such a noble mission. So I since this is, the coaches, the speakers, the people on stage, that's our circles, right? And so that some of this overlaps, and we know some great people in this space. And I really admire the way you serve and the way you teach. And it's not just about voice. You said it in your own words. I know you to not only be just a coach, and like coach is thrown around all over the world today, probably a little bit too much maybe, but for you, it's about transformation. So yes, if you're a singer, if you speak on stages, or if you're a podcaster like me, or whatever it is that you do that you use your voice with. One of the things I love about your program is it's not just about voice, but it's about a healthy voice and sustaining that healthy voice. And I know that's a differentiator for you. So I appreciate you. Stephen, when they watch this, they listen to this, and they're like, that guy is so loving. I got to reach out to him. That just exudes from you, my man. Not only the business side, but the loving side. How can they reach you? What's the best way for them to reach out to you?
Well, I believe that we have a link here somewhere, so you can
Indeed.
attach. So we'll give everybody that link. But if you want to reach out to me through email, you can reach me at Steven, STEVEN at voiceofintention.com. Or I believe we have a actual phone number. We have I think it's 516-88-VOICE. You could reach me there. 516-88-VOICE. On Instagram and Facebook, I'm Stephen A. Harms, and I have something called the Voice Community. I have the Voice Community on Clubhouse as well. In fact, everywhere I think I'm the Voice Community, and that's I think those are all the best ways to reach out to me. I think.
Love it. That's great. You gave not only email, but a phone number, Facebook group, Instagram, Clubhouse. You're everywhere. I love it. That's how we reach out, care for, and serve, right? I love it.
Yeah, and on LinkedIn too, I think Stephen A. Harms as well. So this
has been great. I really do. I celebrate you. Thanks for coming on. This is Brad A. Milford with the Unlimited Business Wisdom Podcast, where this is fun. Business owners making 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 figures. Look, we hear a lot about those figures online nowadays, right? But it's not all about the money and the figures. It's more about sharing their wisdom and creating global impact. There's unity in community. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Brad. Appreciate you.